I'm not clued up on this. So my mic was on mute. I mean, I can see it now. You better.
This laptop way faster than the other one. Just want to process it. Sorry.
What? Tonight?
On YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, it says live. It'll be live on YouTube. Yeah, on the YouTube, yeah, the chat's there. Yeah, it's there. All right, Shalom. This is the I.S.U.P.K Wednesday Law Class. Also, remember, check out Commanding GEN.YAHANNA's radio show. All right, Shalom. This is the I.S.U.P.K Wednesday Law Class. Check out Commanding GEN.YAHANNA's show, which is Monday, 2 a.m. UK time. Also, there's classes in the States, Tuesday through Friday, which is midnight our time. And there's classes here, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So that's 7 p.m. till 9. And there's also the Sabbath service, which is Saturday, 10 a.m. Come on down to those, man. If you're black or Hispanic, this is the place where you need to be. B18 5PW 394 Lodge Road. That's where you're supposed to be. And today we're going to go into, we're going to talk about COVID-19 and how our oppressor's success ain't the same success what the Lord talks about, man.
That's right.
There's a difference. People just look up the word success and they call you a bum if you're not successful according to this world, when the Lord's success is the total opposite to this oppressor's success, man. And also we're going to go through some scriptures about when we get our kingdom and how we need to be and how the Israelites was when they left Egypt. Like you'll see now, like now you're seeing these Christians is the same as the Israelites that came up against Moses, man. They was doing the same things, moaning, saying, "Oh, you're ruining everything." Because what? They was just so happy to be a good slave. They was just happy to be a slave and just slave and slave and slave. But if I could give me Acts chapter 7 and 1, I'm going to get a Tazapuan to get Tazapuan. Give me a. Can you hear me up? Tazapuan, can you hear me? Give me Acts 7 and 1, if you could. And come a bit closer so we can hear you in the class.
I can hear you, yeah.
And listen, man, this brother's from Manchester, man. Logging in all the way from Manchester. This is the first brother from Manchester, man. And he was strong enough to do what? Come into this truth and say, you know what? I'm gonna put Manchester on the map. People shouldn't be online talking about, I live in Wales. When are you coming here? Be like Tazapuan, man, and say, you know what? I'm a make sure Manchester. I'm gonna bring Manchester to Manchester, man. Give my hand, man. He didn't wait on us. He didn't wait on us to come to Manchester and hold his hand. And this brother said, you know what? I'm gonna come in and the same thing you are doing in Birmingham, I'm gonna do it in Manchester, man. Same thing like with London, Shamgar, Kayan, Magawa. Same thing with Mawasar, man. Listen, man, these brothers have come in and said, you know what? And all these brothers is from all different cities. And they're the first to come in from their city, and guess what? Many men is gonna come in after them. But they took that step, which is the hardest step, which most men's afraid to take, man. Most men are afraid to take that step and be the only man in their city. But this brother right here online, he's took that step, man. And he's the first man in the city. And then if Lord allows, that city is going to grow, man. And then guess what? He's going to be king of that city, man.
That's right.
He's going to be the highest priest in that city, man. Everyone's going to have to come to him, man. Same like everyone has to come to Captain Parasha in Birmingham, man. The brother's doing the same thing that Captain Parasha once done one time, and look now, man. Started off as a trooper, officer, and a captain, man. Taza Puran's going to do the same thing. But Salaki, if you could, give me Acts chapter 7 and 1.
Acts chapter 7 verse 1. Then said the high priest. Acts chapter 7 verse 1.
So what does he have to do so there's no his microphone? And whatever you're listening on, just turn it down a little bit because we're getting a bit of feedback in the class.
Try to turn it down.
I think you need to turn your speaker down a little bit.
Can. How's that?
Try it again now. Let me see how it is now.
Okay. Then said the high priest.
Much better. Much better. That's toward now. Go ahead.
Then said the high priest, are these things so?
Go ahead.
And he said, men, brethren, and fathers, hearken.
Turn it down a little bit more. There's a little bit of feedback coming through.
Is it?
There's a little bit of feedback coming through, like it's echoing.
Turn this off. And this down. That's down. Okay, I think that's the lowest it can go.
All right, no sweat. Carry on.
Can. Right.
Yeah, no worries. Carry on.
Right. Acts chapter 7, verse 2. And he said, men, brethren, and fathers, hearken.
Go ahead.
The God of glory, appeared unto our fathers, Abraham.
Go ahead.
When he was in Mesopotamia, before he dwelt in Haran.
Go ahead.
And said unto him, get thee out of the country.
What did he say to him? He said, get thee out of the country. And listen, man, that's the same thing which happened in Egypt. Them Israelites had to get out of that country, man. And that's the same thing which is getting ready to happen in this them. You're going to have to get up out of these countries. The Lord's coming to take us out of this place, man. So you can't be loving your life and thinking, oh, this is where all my success is and this is where my future lies. There's no future for a black man in England, man. There's no future for us in the UK. The time's coming when what? The Lord's going to tell us it's time to roll out of this place. And what you'll realize is with the prophets, they didn't always stay in one place, man. They had to move around, and that's what's required of this work. With this work, you have to move from place to place. Now, we all know you want to go home and chill. Sometimes you can't go home, man. Sometimes you have to spend nights away from home. The prophets in the Bible also done the same thing, man. We've also done the same thing on a few occasions. Sometimes you want to be at home in Birmingham, but what? You have to be in London, man. You have to be in Manchester. And the prophets did what? Put in work. They had to travel. And this is how you know you Christians ain't the prophets of God, man. Because they don't do no traveling. They don't do nothing. They don't go. They just stay in the one spot. Whereas in here, man, in here, we know you don't ever get too comfortable. And listen, the Lord told Abraham, leave his country. What, you think Abraham didn't have land back in that country and houses and his whole life in that country? Right. Abraham had to listen to the Lord and roll out of that country, man. Which means when the Lord tells us it's time for us to roll out of this country, you're gonna have to do it. You can't be like, you know what? I got a family here. I got my job here. I need to stay here. The time's gonna come. Like even during COVID-19, your job don't mean nothing, man. Most people's getting laid off of their job. Most people's getting sacked from their job because what they need to keep enough money for when they open back. Imagine if you gave your job your all, and then now your job's just let you down like that, man. Whereas if you give the Lord your all, the Lord will never let you down. The Lord will never say, you know what, I don't need you no more. Like the Lord won't ever say, you know what, I don't need you no more. I've run out of spaces. Nah, man. The only way the Lord won't deal with you no more is if you break his laws and keep doing the wrong thing, man. Then the Lord will say, you know what, I'm not going to use you no more, because you end up like Saul, just breaking his laws and doing what you want to do, man. Read on.
Get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred, and come in.
Abraham had to leave his kindred, man. The Lord was dealing with Abraham, and the Lord said to Abraham, get thee from your kindred, meaning what? Once you come into this truth, you're going to lose family members, man. Go ahead.
And come in.
Also, if you got any questions, just say Salaki and ask your question. If you got any questions. Also, if you got any questions online, just type them in. But also, man, Abraham had to leave his kindred. And this is the same thing what happens when you come in the truth. Family don't want to be around you no more. They're ready to kick you out of the house. They tell you how they don't know you no more, how you've changed. Read on.
And come into the land that I shall show thee.
And the Lord told Abraham, come to a land that I will show him. Go ahead.
Then came he out of the land of the Chaldeans and dwelt in Karim, in Karin. And from thence went his father. Slakia. And from thence, when his father was dead, he removed him into this land, wherein ye now dwell.
Go ahead, read on.
And he gave him none inheritance in it.
So at this time, the Lord gave Abraham non-inheritance. Basically, he told him of it, but he didn't have it. Like he told Abraham, you know what? Your seed's going to have all of this. You see everything that I'm pointing at? Your seed's going to have all of this land, all of this. That same land is the land that us black and Hispanics is going to have, man. Right. The same promises that Abraham received. Abraham. Now there's tons of people who be like, oh, I'm not going to believe it till I see it. Listen, man, the Lord promised Abraham before Abraham even had kids, man. Right. If Abraham was like you, Abraham would have said, I ain't got a child. What you talking about, man? But Abraham was a just man, believing in God, man. And anything God says is going to do, you best believe God is going to do it, man. Read on.
Wherein he now dwelt, and he gave him none inheritance in it. No, not so much as to set his feet on it.
Read on.
Yet he promised he would give it to him for a possession.
And the Lord said he will give him that land for a possession. And you see that land still belongs to us, man. That's land right. Of Israel still belongs to us. Not that little piece you see on the map. I'm talking about all of it, man. Belongs to us. If you look at an old map, you'll see how big it was. You look at the new map now, you'll just see like a little dot. What they take the land of Israel, that's some small little part when really all of it belonged to us, man.
Right.
You can see how big it is on an ancient map. So now the Lord promised all of that to Abraham. And this Bible says what? The promises, whose are the fathers, man? The promises belong to us. So we ain't going to be in England forever. You see this struggling and this 9 to 5. It's going to pass one day, man. All you have to do is stay strong in the truth. We ain't going to be doing this 9 to 5 forever. Read on.
And to his seed, Salakia, yet he promised that he would give it to him for a possession, and to his seed after him.
And to his seed after him, man. The Lord said, I'm going to give this to you for a possession, and to your children after you. Read on.
When as yet he had no child.
And the Lord promised him that before he had a child, man. Because what God knew what he would do. At this time, Abraham probably was thinking, my wife's doing whatnot. But what the Lord said to him, you know what? The seed after you, Abraham's thinking, hey, I ain't got no kids. And this which lets you know, this is heavy, which lets you know, even in a disadvantaged situation, the Lord can do something for you even when you can't do nothing for yourself, man. His wife couldn't conceive, but guess what? With the Lord opened up her womb, and then she did conceive. At this time, Abraham must have been thinking, I don't know what this means because she's barren and whatnot. Listen, the Lord knows all things, man. Right. There's nothing you You're probably thinking you physically can't do something, but the Lord can make you do that thing, man. Same like you, Tazapuan, man. Before you came in, there's many men out there that thought, you know what, I can't be the first man in my city. Whereas you just proved that they can do it, man. The Lord used you to show that one man can start up a city, man. One man can start up a camp in the city, man. Read on.
When as yet he had no child, and God spake on this wise, that his seed should sojourn in a strange land, and that they should bring them into bondage, and entreat them evil 400 years.
So for Tazapuan, what's that talking about? What's this 400 years talking about?
Slavery.
When?
This slavery. So it's 1492.
This is talking about in Egypt. While it is, people tell you that this is talking about now, or this ain't talking about now. This is talking about in Egypt. Read that verse from the top. I thought I'd ask you because a lot of people that ask think he's talking about this slavery, but nah, man. This is talking about back then. Read that verse again.
And God spake on this wise, that his seed should sojourn in a strange land, and that they should bring them into bondage, and entreat them evil 400 years.
And entreat them evil 400 years. That's talking about in Egypt. And while it is, a few people say that's talking about now, but nah, man, it ain't talking about now, because what you'll realize when you read the account in Genesis and whatnot, it lets you know that all of them would be slaves in one land. This slavery right now is scattered all over. This ain't talking about now. Read on. The next verse would let you know.
And the nations to whom they shall be in bondage will I judge.
And the what?
Will I judge.
And now this is talking about past tense. So now if we go back to the account in Genesis, like you know where the account is in Genesis? It's Genesis. One second, I'm going to get the account in Genesis because in that account gives you a little more.
Okay.
Sorry, say that again. Here, read that verse one more time while we look for it.
And the nations to whom they shall be in bondage, I will judge, said God.
Listen, God judged that nation that we was in bondage to, and we're in slavery right now. But this 400 years here, what we're reading in the book of Acts, ain't talking about this slavery that we're in right now. Because this slavery that we're in right now, it's gone past 400 years because we're in 2020. So that'll be what, 401 years? Which lets you know it's not talking about now. Because some of these fake Israelites was talking about Genesis 15 and 30. Genesis 15 and 13. Give me 1 second. I'll just get there.
You want me to get it?
Come on.
15 and 30, right?
15 and 13.
Okay. Genesis 30, 15, there's no 30.
No, 13, 1, 3, 13.
Genesis chapter 15, verse 13. And he said unto Abraham, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that
there shall be a stranger in a what?
In a land.
There shall be a stranger in a land. Now, we was strangers in one land at that time. Now we scattered all over. We was just in one land. We was all in Egypt. That 400 years is talking about in Acts is talking about when we was all in Egypt. That's what it's talking about. Read on.
In a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
And they shall what?
Afflict them 400 years.
And that's what they did, man. The time frame was 400 years. What they afflicted us, man. Read on. And they're afflicting us now, but this right here ain't talking about now. That's talking about back then. People like to relate it and say, oh, whatnot. But we were strangers in a land at this stage, and this was just one land. All of Israel was slaves in Egypt, whereas now we scattered throughout multiple lands, so it's not talking about the same thing. Read on.
and also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge.
And the Lord said, and that nation will I judge. Now, the Lord judged them, man. The Lord judged them with what? What did the Lord judge them with? How did he judge them? With what?
Plagues.
Exactly. He judged them with plagues. Man. The Lord judged them with plagues. Now, go ahead.
Also, Lord, because we don't know who we are today. Now,
Exactly.
we went from being a civilization.
Exactly.
We dance around in dirt nowadays.
Exactly.
Does it?
So yeah, the Lord judged them, man. The Lord destroyed them. And then the Lord also said what? I raised up Pharaoh for this purpose, man. The Lord raised up Pharaoh so he could destroy them. But and just look at it like this: how the Lord destroyed them Egyptians, and them Egyptians ain't half as bad as this devil that we're dealing with right now, man. So just imagine how the Lord's going to judge him. Imagine how the Lord is going to judge this devil, man. When the Egyptians weren't even half as bad as him, but because the Lord loved us, the Lord dealt with them, man. Give me Romans chapter 9 and verse 17. We're gonna follow up on that.
Romans chapter 9, verse 17. For the scripture
So, okay, I'll get the question. Go ahead.
For the scripture says unto Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised thee up.
Hold on, what did the Lord say?
Even for this same purpose have I raised thee up.
It says, even for the same purpose have I raised thee up. Now, what's that letting you know? Like, how do you translate that to today? You want to touch upon? You want to have a shot? The Lord said to Pharaoh, "This same purpose, I raised thee up." Meaning, what? Pharaoh was great. Pharaoh was ruling. Pharaoh entreated us badly. How can you relate that to today? Touch upon you there. Is he?
It's not outside.
It's not outside. This inside. All right, no, so you want me to just get the question, and then when Tazapon comes, we can go back to you.
Yeah.
All right. Then what was the brother's question? Yeah, I think he's gonna.
The question is, Shalami, how much Slaki Adwan, can I get a breakdown on Matthew 10:5 to 19? Bob Shah. Don't know if you want to ask me this.
Is there specific part of the question that you wanted? Is there a specific part of it, or do you want the whole near enough the whole thing? You might as well read it while he's typing. Let me know what part specifically you wanted.
Right, Matthew 10:5. These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them and said.
So everyone knows these is what Yahweh his disciples. He was in charge, so he could what command them to do things because he was over them. So he gave them an order. Go ahead.
Commanded them, saying, "Go not in the way of the Gentiles."
And he told them, "Don't go to the Gentiles, man. Don't go to these other nations." He commanded them. He's back. How can Yabashim Shabbat?
Shalom, Yahweh Shabbat.
Good job, Hebrew. Good job, Hebrew. Let me just read this and then go ahead. I'm just going to get the brother's question.
Right, yeah, he said the whole thing.
All right, no, sir.
All right. Go not into the way of the Gentiles, and any city of the Samaritan enter ye not.
He said, "Go not in the way of the Gentiles, man, the other nations, and the city of the Samaritans enter ye not." Why? Because what was going on in Samaria at the time? You had people thinking they were Israelites when there wasn't, man. because they was placed there in what, First Kings the 17th chapter, right? They was placed there in First Kings the 17th chapter, and that's why you have that woman that was a Samaritan that said to Yahushua, our fathers prayed at this mountain, because they was there keeping our laws, because they brought priests there, because before that there was lions. How can mute your mic for me a minute? It's giving feedback. Any questions, just unmute it and say Salakia, and we'll get your question. For what there?
Yeah. Verse 6, but go rather.
It's a but go rather. Go ahead.
To the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
So it said go to these Israelites, man, because these Israelites is lost. These Israelites lost their culture, lost everything, man. Most of us was living like Gentiles. At this time, most of us weren't keeping God's laws, man. Christ had to come and what? Send these men to do what? Teach and preach and bring us into the truth. That's what they had to do. They had to send them to teach so brothers could wake up and come into the truth. Same thing like what we're doing right now. Read on.
And as ye go, preach and say, the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
And preach and go saying the kingdom of heaven is at hand, man. Give them brothers some hope, man.
Right.
Let them know you don't have to be a slave forever, man.
Right.
Soon you're going to be saying the kingdom of heaven is at hand. You know why? Because brothers need to hear that good knowledge, man. They need to hear something like there's going to be something for us, man. They need to hear that there's going to be something which is only for blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, man.
Right.
That's why Christ said don't go to the Gentiles. Christ said go to the Israelites and tell them the kingdom of heaven's at hand, which is letting you know that Yahushua wasn't bringing some heaven for everybody, man. Because he said don't even go to them, but he said go to the Israelites and tell them the kingdom of heaven's at hand. You know why? Because he saw how the Israelites was living, how these Israelites was depressed, man. How these Israelites was depressed, oppressed, suffering from anxiety, man. Struggling to make ends meet, living under another nation. He saw how they was living, how we living today. Read on.
Heal the sick.
Do what?
Heal the sick.
And as you preach, go and you heal the sick, man. You stop people from what? Smoking drugs, man. People who are taking drugs, they're sick. People who are smoking weed, they're sick.
That's right.
People who are watching pornography, they're sick.
That's right.
You need to go there and heal the sick, man. Meaning you need to stop them from doing those things, man. You need to teach them and teach them how wrong it is and how you're supposed to serve God and how what you're doing is so wicked and unrighteous. Read them.
Cleanse the lepers.
Cleanse the lepers, man. Go ahead.
Raise the dead.
Raise the dead, man. And now our people are what? Spiritually dead, man. You're meant to go out there and give them life.
Right.
How do they have life? Keeping law, statutes, and commandments, man. It tells you that in Baruch chapter 4 and verse 1. It tells you that in Baruch, man. Keep the commandments and you come to life. That's what we're meant to do, raise the dead. Once upon a time in here, all of us in here was dead. Why do you think smoking weed is? If you're smoking weed, you're dead. If you're sleeping with whores, you're dead, man. We needed what? Commanding GEN.YAHANNA to come and raise the dead, man. People talk about, oh, Christ done miracles, turning water to wine. Listen, Christ said we're going to do greater miracles than what he did, man. And you know what a great miracle is? Raising the dead, man. Brothers who there was no hope for once upon a time, man. Brothers, there's no hope once upon a time for, man. Go ahead. Tells upon your mic's muted. If you want to ask a question, you can just unmute it and jump back in. But yeah, man, like Christ said, these brothers is going to do great miracles than me, man. Listen, there's brothers out there who was strung out on drugs, who had no hope, who thought they was going to be dead at 25, man. Guess what? Them brothers are now captains and generals in the school, man. Because commanding GEN.YAHANNA done a great miracle, man. And Christ said we will do great miracles. And that's a miracle that brothers do, man. Raising the dead. To Christians, they're like, huh? Raising the dead. How do we do that? In here, we raise the dead every single day, man. In here, only in the I.S.U.P.K, the dead is raised. Read on.
Cast out the devils.
Do what?
Cast out devils.
We cast out devils, man. You know what is it as well? Smoking, man. We cast that out. Make sure you don't do that no more, man. You know what else is a demon? People who schizophrenic and give me some more. Anger issues, bipolar, all of these things, man. Guess what? Brothers coming, brothers who are alcoholics coming here. Those things get casted out. They're no longer alcoholics, man. We cast out devils. A brother that speaks like wants to speak like a woman, man. That wants to bend his wrist and behave like a woman. Once it comes in here, man, all of that gets gets casted out of him. But in the Christian church, they ain't doing what we're reading right here.
That's right.
Because in the Christian church, guess what happens? You come as you are and you stay as you are, man.
That's right.
You come as a homosexual and you be a double homosexual in church,
Right.
man. Whereas in here, if you come as that, try no, you ain't leaving as that, man.
That's right.
You're gonna leave as a man that loves women, man.
Right.
Because in here we cast out devils. Read on.
Freely give. It's like freely ye have received, freely give.
Ye have received, freely give, man. Christ gave them the truth for free, man. In church, what do? They're charging for it, man. They charge for it. Listen, in church was charging for what, a COVID-19 test.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
What they were doing is they said once this coronavirus epidemic is done, that with the members of the church, they would have to pay for the test so that they can come back in the church.
See, and that's church fee, man. It said freely you have received, freely give, man. In here, listen, you getting the truth of God. It's free, man. In church, they charge, like they think they have the truth. They hear something and they think, all right, you know what? I'm gonna charge him X amount of money for it. Nah, man, it shouldn't be like that, man. Listen, for them to even tell you something's a sin, you have to pay them in order for them to tell you. Read on.
Verse 9, provide neither gold nor silver nor brass.
Now that time was when Yahushua was there with them. This one time he told them don't bring money with you or whatnot. But obviously nowadays bring money because you're not going to be able to get on the train and you ain't going to be able to get home. After when Yahushua was about to leave, he told them what, bring their purse, right?
That's right.
He told them bring their purse and whatnot. So this was just at this time he told them don't bring no script, which is what, paper money and so forth, and gold and silver, which is money. Read on.
Verse 10, nor script for your journey, nor either oats, nor either shoes.
And he told them don't bring these things. That was at that time. Now, obviously, you're going on a journey, bring these things because you're going to need them, especially if you're not going to be back for a few days. It's like when us go to Passover, we bring a change of clothes, man. Because why? You got Passover, then you got Feast on Unleavened, man. Brothers want to change their apparel. Read on.
Nor yet slaves.
Go ahead.
For the workman is worthy of his meat.
And the workman is worthy of his meat. Meaning, when you go to these places, you're worthy. The people are supposed to feed you, man. You see, if you go to a city and you're preaching the word of God, they're supposed to come out, man. And they're supposed to come out and feed you, man. Like when we go to camp, what happens? Sisters come out with food for us, man. We work, man, which is worthy of our meat, man. Now but that don't mean don't bring money with you wherever you're going. Obviously nowadays, this day and age, you never know if there's going to be a plate of food there for you. So bring money. But you know, for the most part, if you're in the I.S.U.P.K and you ain't got money, don't worry, man. It's toward. Not all of us is going to be rich. Not all of us is going to be rich, and that's why the ones who are rich in here help the ones who ain't as what's the word I'm looking for? Who ain't that's the word. Who ain't as fortunate as others, man. Read on.
And whatsoever city or town ye shall enter in the choir, who in it is worthy, and there abide till ye go thence.
And then you go to that city and see who's worthy in that city, man. But remember, in verse 5, it said only go to blacks and Hispanics. So you go to the city and see who's worthy, and there you would abide. Like obviously, you ain't just gonna go there and some man that's cursing you out and hates the truth. You ain't gonna keep casting your pearls to him. Nowadays, how do you do it? You go there and you speak to people who are listening and who are worthy. You ain't gonna go there and speak to some gainsayer that's just gonna be coming up against you and whatnot. Read on.
Verse 12, and when ye come into an house, salute it.
And you would salute once you go into that house, man. Go ahead.
And if the house be worthy, let your peace come upon it.
And if that house be worthy, you let your peace come upon it, man. You bless that house, man. That's what you do, man. You bless whoever's in that house, man. You say, listen, nowadays, like what? We these sisters invite us to their house, man. We say a prayer for them sisters, man.
Right.
We honor them sisters. We say them sisters is good sisters, man. We let our peace be on it. We let everyone know these is good sisters and whatnot. Go ahead.
But if it be not,
But if it be not worthy, go ahead.
let your peace return to you.
And if it not be worthy, man. If these people is gainsaying and hating everything saying, man, you don't need to give them your peace, man. You just do one, man. You don't need to give them nothing, none of your time or whatsoever. Like you don't need to keep going. Like one thing with the truth, you don't need to go back and keep going back and forth with someone that hates the truth. That's the misconception of Christianity. They make it like, oh, you must go, you must go try and give this truth to your grandma 1,000,000 times. Listen, man, you give it to her, and if your grandma don't want to accept it, you don't keep shoving it down her throat. You just be like, okay, grandma, you're gonna have to learn the hard way, man. I mean, some people have to learn the hard way. Some people have to get COVID-19 to learn, man. Some people have to get other infections to learn. Whereas some people can hear, okay, I shouldn't be eating pork, and they'll stop eating pork. Some people have to get diabetes to understand that they shouldn't be eating these things. Some people have to get high blood pressure to realize they shouldn't be eating these things. Whereas there's a man that will be like, oh, the Bible says don't eat pork. I'm not going to eat pork. Some people have to get cancer and have chemotherapy to understand why they shouldn't have smoked all them cigarettes. Whereas there's a man that can hear this and be like, I'm never smoking cigarettes again because it's against God. Some people have to learn the hard way. Read on.
Verse 14. And whosoever shall not receive you, nor hear your words.
Nor hear your words. Meaning they don't receive you, nor hear your words. Listen, man. There's been places we've gone and the people ain't received us, man. Trying to throw the damn chairs and trying to get all aggressive and whatnot. If they don't receive you, no sweat. Read on.
When ye depart out of that house, all say, Itty, shake off the dust of your feet.
Shake off the dust of your feet when you leave that city, man. No sweat. Don't get all emotional. You know why? Because it's not you that didn't receive. It's the Lord that didn't receive, man. It's nothing to do with you. It's the Lord that they didn't receive. So like one of the Akim online, pick up Matthew chapter 10 and verse 15 for me, Baba Kushar. Hakian, you got that? Matthew 15. Matthew chapter 10 and verse 15. Most High in Christ. All right, give me that nice and loud.
Matthew chapter 10, verse 15.
Go ahead.
Verily I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city.
So listen, man, those people that didn't receive the people that didn't receive you in that city, it would have been way more tolerable for the people in Sodom and Gomorrah. And what happened to them? They got burnt to a crisp, man. And it's letting you know that these people are going to receive worse than Sodom and Gomorrah for not receiving God's prophets. All these people that don't want to receive God's prophets, their fate is going to be worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. Read on for me up.
Khan of the one Khan. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves.
So it says, beware, I send
you therefore wise.
One second, it says, I send you as sheep in the midst of wolves, man. Now, wolves are what? What do wolves do? Wolves attack sheep. So he said to send you as sheep amongst wolves. So when you're out there, you need to know how to conduct yourself and how to carry yourself, because you're amongst wolves, man. You're amongst people in the world with no discipline. You're amongst people in the world with no restraint, whereas you have to have discipline and have restraint. So you're sent out there as a sheep amongst wolves. Go ahead.
Khan of the one Khan. Be you therefore wise as serpents.
Hold on, what did he say?
And
Be
harmless
what?
as doves.
He said, be what? What did he say? Be wise as what? Read that for me one more time. There's no Hakian, there's no volume coming through.
Be you therefore wise and harmless as doves. I think it's
be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. What's a serpent? Like a snake, and what do they do, man? They're aware of their surroundings and they hitch back like this and they attack when they need to attack. We need to be wise like them, man. Like, we don't just go out there attacking people, but if we have to attack, we will. Well, we will defend ourselves. Where a serpent is wise, they do what? They stand back on their tail like this. And then once you get close to them, that's when they jump at you. We need to be wise as serpents, meaning what? We need to pick our moves wisely. Read on. And it says, and harmless as doves. And a dove is harmless. What?
Corner the one part.
A dove ain't gonna kill no one. We need to be harmless as doves, but also wise as a serpent. Meaning a serpent does what? It lays back. Once you get close to it, it attacks. But we harmless as doves. But if people try and attack us, we will defend ourselves. So we have to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Read on.
Come, but beware of men, for they will deliver you up to council.
And they will deliver you up.
will
They would deliver you up. They would deliver you up, man. Especially to their leaders, especially to our oppressor. Now, if they could have it their way, they would get us arrested for speaking this word, man. They would get us thrown in jail. They want to deliver us up. That's what that's talking about. Men will deliver you up. And it always happens to be what? People in the world that you trust, man. People in the world that you follow you, they would deliver you up. Same how Judas delivered up Yahushua, man. They would do the same thing. Go ahead.
and they will scourge you in their synagogue.
They will scourge you in their synagogue.
And you shall be brought.
Man. That was it. And I think the brother. Hold on. What verse did let me see what verse the brother wanted the scripture to. Verse 19. Go ahead.
Verse
Go
19.
ahead.
But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what you shall speak.
So when you get delivered up, so when you get delivered up to the police and whatnot, you don't need to prepare a statement. You don't need to think about what need to think about what you're going to say. You don't need to write down what you're going to say, because the Lord will give you the mouth to say, man. Listen, once upon a time, man, in the UK, the police I had to go to the police station because we're saying, we said this and whatnot on the tape. And listen, man, in the interview, the Lord gave me the words what to say. And this was in 2017, and the police said, we'll be in touch, and I still ain't heard back from them, man. I still ain't heard back from them, man. Nowhere, listen, and if you think I'm lying, ask Captain Parasha, because he came to the police station with me. Remember that time down by Pray Bar? We went to the police station, man. I didn't rehearse nothing. And the policeman's like, so why do you wear those? Why do you wear those in your comebacks? It's like, he said homosexuals was abhorrent. I said abomination. I said, it says it in the Bible. He goes, show me. I showed him. And guess what? The same police officer came out to the camp 2 weeks later. Remember when he came out 2 weeks later? And he said, is everything all right? And he looked scared for his life, man. And he goes, we're going to be in touch. We're going to see if we need to charge you or what we're going to do. And he said, we're going to get back in touch with you. And this has been from 2017, and I ain't had nothing from them yet. I'm still waiting for them to get in touch. And guess what? There's nothing they can do, because this is of the Lord, man. That policeman, I ain't seen him in a while. He's probably dead from COVID-19 for all I know, man. He's probably dead from COVID-19, man, for all I know. Read that verse for me again.
Corner the one corn. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what you shall speak.
Go ahead.
For it shall be given you in the same hour what you shall speak.
And it says it shall be given you in the same hour what ye shall speak, which means you don't need to rehearse. And you know what that let me know? That let me know that this Bible's so true, man. I went in there with nothing rehearsed. I just went in there and let it off the rip. Why do you speak like this at camp? Why do you shout on the microphone like at camp? Why do you dress the way you dress? I said, why do you dress uniform? Because this is my work clothes. I said, this is my work clothes. He said, this is his work clothes. I said, this is my work clothes. That police officer was sitting there in his boots polished. I was sitting there in my boots polished. He's at his job. I'm at my job. And he looked at me, and guess what? He couldn't find nothing to charge me with, man. They had to let me go out of that police station. And this was was it 2016 or 2017? 16 or 17, but I'm still waiting to hear back. might just phone them just to rub it in and say I'm still waiting to hear what you're doing from 2017. And Gary Thompson, Most High in Christ, man. The brother said it for what they say. I appreciate you. Most High in Christ, man. That's it, and that's the luck here. If you could take me back to Romans chapter 9 and verse 17. Also, if anybody's got any questions online, just let me know. Any of the Hakian, Tazapuan, anything, any questions, just let me know, man. I got the heavy hitters in the classroom with me today, man. I've got the heavy hitters in the classroom with me today, man. If I don't know the answer, Officer Parasha, Officer Crawford or Captain Parasha will. So just type them in, man. Give me Romans chapter 9, verse 17.
Romans chapter 9, verse 17. And Ananias went his way and entered into his house.
What is Romans 9 and 17?
Yeah, that was Romans. Yeah.
I was thinking Ananias. I was thinking that ain't Ananias. Acts, right? I was thinking Ananias is in Acts.
Romans 9:17. For the scripture says unto Pharaoh, even for the same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might shew my power in thee.
So now, back then in Egypt, the Lord said what to Pharaoh? The Lord said to Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised you up. Now, how do you relate that to today? One of the Acumen line can type it in, or Hakian or Tazapuan have a shot at it. How do you relate that to today? Even for the same purpose. Go ahead.
Can you say the question again?
So, like you say that again.
Can you say the question again?
Read the verse one more time. But basically, it says, even for the same purpose have I raised thee up. The Lord raised up Pharaoh for that purpose. How do you relate that to today?
Oh, right. Okay.
Right. So,
go ahead.
Relating that to today is the Lord raising up Esau as he did with Pharaoh.
Give him a hand. That's what it is, man. Listen, it ain't because what? It ain't because Esau's better than you. It ain't because it's stronger than you. It's because the Lord raising them up so he can show his power, man. Because you know, if the Lord didn't raise up Esau, and if the Lord said, you know what, I'm gonna stand aside, I'm gonna let you Israelites verse all these Edom, we would wipe them out, man. Come on, man, we would wipe them out, man. We would do to them what Mayweather done to Ricky Hatton, man. That's what it would be like, man. We would do that to them, man. We would do to them what we always do to them in sports, man. We would do it to them in real life. The only way they have the upper hand on us is what? Because the Lord gave them that power. Because the Lord's with them that gave them that power, man, to raise them up so he can show forth his power. Read on.
Even for this, that I may show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth.
That what? His name may be declared throughout all the earth. So the Lord's did what? Raised up Esau. The Lord's made Esau the most powerful nation on the face of the earth. And all these nations are afraid of Esau. And the Lord's doing that. So when he does take him down, his name can be known throughout the whole earth. Meaning, if the rest of the earth knew that the Lord sent COVID-19, his name would already be known throughout the earth. Esau is the most powerful nation on this earth that runs the military, everything. And guess what? The Lord sent COVID-19, man, and he's scared for his life, hiding in his house. Because he's so afraid hiding in his house, he wants the rest of us to hide in our house. Read on.
Right. Throughout all the earth. Therefore, has he mercy on whom he will have mercy.
The Lord said, therefore he will have mercy on who he will have mercy. Go ahead.
And whom he will pardon. Salakia. And whom he will, he hardeneth.
Jump to verse 21. And the Lord did what? Hardened Pharaoh's heart. The Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart in Egypt, so Pharaoh wouldn't let us go. The Lord did that, so the Lord can, his power, man, so the Lord can destroy him. The Lord destroyed him that way, so we would fear the Lord and be like, well, we was afraid of them Egyptians. How much more should we fear God? Same like now, we fear Esau. How much more should we fear God? Once God destroys the place, we're going to learn to fear him. Jump to verse 21.
Verse 9 and 21. Hath not the potter power over the clay?
Have not the potter power over the clay, meaning what? A potter is what? Someone that makes things, right? Molds things. A potter is someone that makes things with clay and whatnot. So the clay would come in whatever form, and the potter would make it whatever he wants. So whatever the potter decides he wants to make, like if the potter made 2 cups, he can decide, you know what, I'm gonna drink my strong drink out of 1 cup, and I'm gonna urinate in the other cup, because he's the potter. He decides what to do with them cups. He has power over the clay. Read on.
Can other one. Of the same, has not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor?
Of the same lump to make, of the same lump, meaning what? People like to say, oh, we all bleed the same. Yeah, true, but I don't even know if that's true, because I've never seen Esau bleed, so I don't even know if his blood is red. I only see Israelites bleeding, but people say, oh, we all bleed the same. Yeah, the Lord made us out of 1 lump. And then what did he do? Separated that lump and made one to honor and one to dishonor. Read on.
And another unto dishonor.
He made one to honor and one to dishonor. And the Lord's made us to honor and these other nations to dishonor.
That's right.
Read on.
What if God, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endureth with much long suffering?
What? To make his power known, endured with much long suffering. Now, Tazapwan, how long did the Lord long suffer to make his power known? How long did he wait? How long was he patient for?
Not quite sure. A long time.
We read it. We read it earlier.
Oh, read it.
See, I'm seeing if you're paying attention.
Right. Forever.
400 years.
I knew it. I knew it.
Don't worry.
Yeah,
so and 400 years is a long time.
Right.
The Lord said back 400 years, and let them think they're running the show. He let them think they're getting away with everything, man. And then after that, what did the Lord do? Came and destroyed them, man. The Lord long suffered, man, meaning he suffered a long time. That's what long suffering means, man.
Right.
He waited patiently, man. Read on.
Salakia. What if God, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endureth with long suffering, the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction?
And there's vessels of wrath. The Lord's created vessels of wrath, which is just created so he can destroy. There's people who the Lord created so he can just destroy. Our oppressor, the Lord created him so he can destroy him, man. Whereas the Lord created you so you can have ruled the whole earth. Right. That's the difference. The Lord created him to destroy him, and he created you for you to rule the whole earth, man. Read on.
And that he might make known the riches of his glory unto the vessels of mercy.
And then to his vessels of mercy, he made known the riches of his glory, meaning what? He gave them the promises. He gave them the land of Israel. He gave them the covenant. He gave them the law. The vessels of mercy, he gave them his glory. And the vessels who he made for destruction, he just made them so he can destroy them, man. Read on.
Which he had afore prepared unto glory.
And the Lord made these things before time, man. The Lord made these things before time. You can drop that. Give me Numbers chapter 14 and 1. Our brother's got a question online. He said, does condom use to prevent corona contamination during sexual intercourse? No. A condom just prevents a woman from getting pregnant, and even that's only like 99%. It's only 99% accurate. I don't know because I got 3 kids. I'm not 1%, so lucky. But coronavirus, you catch it through what coughing and people coughing and cross contamination and all of those kind of things. So if someone did have the coronavirus, like if your rib had the coronavirus and you're having sex with her, the condom doesn't prevent you from not contracting coronavirus and whatnot. That's why people wear the masks and the gloves and all of those things. Like, if anyone does have the coronavirus, the best thing to do is what? Self-isolate. Well, self-isolate and distance and having sex. You can't be 2 meters apart. There's no, you can't have sex from 2 meters apart. That's not intercourse. That's outer course. Like, you can't have sex from 2 meters apart. So it don't prevent the coronavirus. But Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the UK, will say, "Oh, you shouldn't have sex with your wife during this time." Of course, you can have sex with your woman. You live with her. Of course, you can. Chances are, if you do live with your woman and she's got the coronavirus, you got it anyway, even just by you being in the same room and whatnot. So, whether you have sex or don't have sex, it kind of don't make a difference. Give me Numbers chapter 14 and verse 1.
Is that me?
So, like I say that again.
Do you want me to read?
Can go ahead.
Can. And all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night.
And now after the Lord delivered the Israelites out of Egypt, there was in the wilderness, the people wept. Now you would have thought they would have been happy to not be slaves, man. You would have thought they would have been happy to be free, but not black and Hispanics. And that's the thing. We love our oppressors too much, man. That even when the Lord frees us, we still complain and say we would rather serve them. These people wept and was crying about it. Read on.
And all the children of Israel murmured against Moses.
Meaning they spoke against Moses, man. These Israelites spoke against Moses. You would have thought they would have been happy to be free, not black and Hispanics. Read on.
And against Aaron, and to the whole congregation, said unto them, would God that we had died in the land of Egypt.
Listen, man, there was moaning, man. These Israelites were saying, you know what? Why did we come out? Why wouldn't we just die there? Listen, Moses went and the Lord used Moses to free them. Now, we could have got into the land of Israel a lot quicker if it wasn't for Israelites murmuring, moaning, which is letting you know what? Once this place is destroyed, you're going to have the same kind of people moaning. Go ahead.
There's not coming back.
Yeah, man, I'm hungry, man. Man, at Tesco, man.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna have people moaning saying, "Oh, over there, man, we had this and that, man. All we had to do was go to work and come home and had the PlayStation, and now I'm here and there's nothing here, man. I'd rather be there." Like some black people are happy just being slaves, but what you're seeing right here in Numbers is letting you know that you can relate this to what getting into the kingdom of heaven. It's not easy, man. There's gonna be hard times that you're gonna have to go through. In order for us to get into the land of Israel, we had to go through some hard times, man. We had to go through the wilderness where everything ain't cushy, everything ain't comfortable. You ain't gonna have no reclining sofa and no nice things. Read on.
I need to sort this out. This one. Why is it? Just the internet.
Go ahead up.
Yeah, I need to get a decent.
Tazapon, you there? Tazapon, you there?
Yeah, I'm here now. Back now, yeah.
I know, sir. Give me Numbers 14 and where we what verse we at?
Right, verse 3. Verse 2.
Go ahead.
Okay. Would God that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would God we had died in the wilderness?
Or they said, would God have rather we die in Egypt or in the wilderness? Read on.
And wherefore has the Lord brought us unto this land to fall by the sword?
And you know how it is, man. As Israel, man, always afraid of everything. Listen, the Lord's going to free them. And they're saying, oh, the Lord's brought us here to get killed. Listen, man, the Lord's trying to free them. And they're moaning saying, oh, the Lord's brought us here to get killed. And some do that, man. They come in the truth and complain, man. Oh, why did I come here, man? I've lost my job. I've lost this. I've lost that. Listen, man, there's things which is better than your job. Your job ain't even real success. The job that you're doing ain't even a good job, which is worth crying over anyway, man. Ain't even a graduate job that's worth crying over, man. Hey, read on.
Fall by the sword. that our wives and our children should be a prey.
These men are
Where-
saying, oh, these men are saying, oh, so you brought us here that our wives and our children should fall by this. No, that us men should fall by the sword, and our wives and our children should be a prey. Listen, man, your children was a prey in Egypt, but they didn't complain about that.
That's right.
Why their children was a prey in Egypt, they didn't care about that. Why didn't they care about it then? Now they want to talk about it. Why didn't they have the same energy in Egypt, man? If they had the same energy in Egypt, guess what? Maybe they wouldn't have been the Egyptian slaves, man. But now they got all this energy for the Lord, brought us here, for Moses. When Moses is trying to save them, man. Moses is trying to free them, man. Hey, read on.
Were it not better for us to return into Egypt?
They'd rather be a slave again, man. They'd rather serve Boris Johnson again. They'd rather be on the plantation again, man. They'd rather, you know what, stay on the charter flight again, man. That's what they would have said in today's times. It's better for us to return into Egypt. Meanwhile, the Egyptians was beating them and making them work. The Egyptians separated themselves from them and beat them and made them work. And they would rather return back into Egypt, man, than just be in the wilderness for a little bit. Read on.
Verse 4. And they said one to another, let us make a captain.
And they said, they said, let us make a captain. They said, let us set someone over. Let us set up our own leader. They didn't want the leaders that the Lord chose and gave them, man. Which is letting you know right now. This is why we don't sweat it when people don't want to listen to us. This is why we don't sweat it when people say David Koresh is their leader. This is why we don't sweat it when they say that Boris Johnson's their leader and all these Christian leaders is their leaders. Because why? They didn't want Moses as their leader, man. They said, let us make a captain that will take us back to Egypt. Because Israel, what? They just was so used to being slaves that being a slave was all they knew. Imagine there's been slavery there for 400 years. So these people that was in the wilderness, their whole life, all they known was they've just born into slavery. Like us today, our people is stuck in their ways because they've been born into slavery. They've been born into being a slave, and they've just known, you know what? I'm black. I'm at the bottom. I'm low. Everybody rules over me. My job is to just get up and work and try and get a mortgage, and that's about it. That's what we think life is here. Read on. When really there's more to life than that. That's not success, man. Yeah, Presser tells you that's success. Go ahead.
Yeah, we think that our job is to work hard, get a retirement, and then go old.
Exactly.
Teach our children the same thing.
Exactly.
Go uni, work a job.
Exactly. And then guess what happens? You get old, and then you die, and you ain't even got nothing in your bank account to show for all them 50 years of you being a good slave, man. You ain't got nothing in your bank account. Like, you ain't got nothing in your account to say that you've even worked for 50 years, man. And this is the thing. And listen, we're all black, so we all understand that we live from wage to wage, man. Most of us been working for 10, 15 years, and you look at our bank account, it don't reflect 10, 15 years. It doesn't reflect it. Afterwards, I'm gonna get the calculator out, and we're gonna see how much money we should have. Read on.
Can another one, can. And let us return into Egypt. Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before all.
Moses and Aaron heard this and fell upon their face, man. Go ahead.
Before all the assembly of the congregation of the children of Israel.
Go ahead.
And Joshua the son of Nun, and Caleb the son of Jephunneh,
Go ahead.
which were of them that searched the land, rent their clothes.
Oh, that's what they used to do back then. They used to rip their clothes. They used to rent means rip. Go ahead.
And they spake unto all the company of the children of Israel, saying, the land which we possess, the land which we pass through to search it, is an exceeding good land. And if the Lord delight in us.
So now Israel, they was down, they was moaning about the wanting to go back to Egypt until Joshua had to say, you know what? He had to try and give them a hope and say, don't worry about it, man. The land. This is why he's saying this to them. He said, the land which we searched out is a good land. If the Lord delights in us, meaning if we keep his laws, we're going to get that land. Because they had to give them hope and encouragement, because these people was moaning and murmuring and whatnot. how black people do today. Like, you know how black people, man. Listen, man. I've been at a funeral, man. One time I went to a funeral with my grandma, and my grandma and her friends was moaning, saying, "Oh, they could have put little pepper in the soup." I'm thinking, I'm thinking someone's dead, and all you care about is the soup. This is black people for you, man. The murmur at funerals, the murmur at everything, man. And this is how you know this is talking about us. Everything we complain about. Read on.
Can another one can. If the Lord delight in us, then he will bring us into this land.
And this is why he said it to them. If the Lord delights in us, he will bring us into this land. He's saying, listen, man, don't be weak and soft and trying to go back into Egypt. And guess what? If they did try to go back into Egypt, the Lord wouldn't have let them anyway, man. And the Lord, you think the Lord weren't making notes of all this? And because of this reason is why we had to stay in the wilderness for a lot longer, because the Lord said, you know what? This generation, I ain't even gonna let them go in. Look how they're going on. So once it's time for us to roll out of this place, we can't be going on how they're going on right there. Read on.
Salakia. And give it us, and the land which floweth with milk and honey.
That just means a land that floweth with milk and honey is a saying as to say you got the best of everything, basically. You got the most fertile land. You got the best of everything. That's what it means when it says floweth with milk and honey. Because Christians actually believe that it's a land that there's milk and honey in a river somewhere. When it's not talking about that, it's just a saying. It's just a saying as to say, yo, the best of everything. It flows with milk and honey. Go ahead.
Only rebel not ye against the
only
Lord.
Rebel not. So Joshua and them were saying, don't rebel, because that's what we like to do. We like to rebel. He said, don't rebel not. Read on.
Neither fear ye the people of the land, for they are bread for
and he
us.
said, don't fear them. You know why? Because they was fearing them. They said, they brought us to the wilderness so our enemies can come and kill us with the sword. He said, fear not, man, the bread to us. Imagine the Lord just destroyed them Egyptians in the sight of all Israel, so the Lord can show his power. Like we read, the Lord done it so he can show his power. And then God's people here, the Israelites, is what? Afraid of their enemies. How are you going to be afraid of your enemies when you just seen what the Lord did to your enemies? That should have gave them 100% confidence that no nation can't mess around with them. They should have seen that and said, I'm rolling with the Lord. No nation can't mess around with us. Read on.
Another one. Their defense is departed from them, and the Lord is their defense is departed from them.
The Lord said their defense. Well, Joshua said our enemy's defense has departed from them, man. At this time, where was the Egyptians? Where was the Egyptian army? Dead in the Red Sea, man. They was dead in the Red Sea. Their chariots was underwater, man. Egyptian was wrecked, was ruined, man. Everybody was crying and mourning for one that was killed and whatnot. And these Israelites that seeing all of this is afraid. Why would we be afraid when we know the Lord's rolling with us? This is why in the I.S.U.P.K, we ain't afraid of COVID-19. Meanwhile, everybody else is. Everybody else is afraid, saying, "Oh, it was made in a lab. Oh, it's man-made. It's because of the 5G towers." Meanwhile, in here, we ain't afraid, man. Everybody else is upset about this COVID-19. When we like in the free time, man. We like in the free time. The roads and the motorways a little more. You ain't got these damn East Indians who can't drive, almost driving into you every day. The roads is that quiet. Listen, man, we like this, man. Read on.
God, defense is departed from them, and the Lord is with us. Fear them not.
The Lord's with us, man. We ain't got to be afraid of COVID-19 or our enemies. Listen, everybody's talking about martial law, FEMA camps. Listen, man, you've been living under martial law your whole life, man. You've been living under it your whole life, and you're afraid of it now. Half the things that Christians and these fake Israelites try and get you to be afraid of is things that you've been living comfortably your whole life. You've been living under this FEMA camp your whole life, man, under martial law your whole life. Whereas you can't even go anywhere without reporting to them. You can't even catch a plane without them telling you need to be back by this date. We've been living this our whole life. What's the point of being afraid of this right now? Read on.
Another one. Fear, the Lord is with us. Fear them not. But all the congregation bade stoned. All the congregation.
Listen, these Israelites was ready to stone Moses. And this is why I say, don't be mad when people is mad at us, mad at you for being in the I.S.U.P.K. These Israelites right here went to stone Joshua and Moses and them. And all Moses done was freed the people, man. All Moses done was freed the people and tried to say to them, you know what, you're better than being a slave. And that's what we try and do. We tell black people you're better than being a slave. We tell them slavery was never designed for you to be in, man. We tell them you're meant to be ruling the earth.
That's right.
And guess what they tell us? Oh, you're racist. They don't want to hear it. The people here didn't want to hear it, and they picked up stones to stone them, man. Read on.
Can bade stone them with stones, and the glory of the Lord appeared in the tabernacle of the congregation.
They picked up them stones that the Lord had to send one of the angels down, man. The Lord had to come down, man. You know why? Because if the Lord didn't come down, Moses and them would have got stoned in that wilderness. The glory of the Lord came down, man. Meaning all Israel seen the light and the glow as it came down. Go ahead.
Another one. The Salakia appeared in the tabernacle of the congregation before all the children of Israel.
The Lord had to come down and all Israel had to see the glory of the Lord, man. They had to see it. You know why? Because if they didn't see it, they was about to stone Moses, man. They was about to stone Joshua and Caleb. They was about to stone them. That's why the Lord had to send that angel down quick, man. Read on.
And the Lord said unto Moses, how long will this people provoke me?
The Lord had to say, how long will this people provoke me? Imagine this. The Lord delivered them, and now they want to go back to the place where the Lord delivered them from. Imagine you've got kids. Imagine you've got kids. You save your kids from something, and they go back to doing what you've just saved them from. You're going to be looking at them sideways. Listen, man, we provoked the Lord in that wilderness, man.
That's right.
We provoked the Lord until he had to send the angel down. Read on.
And how long will it be? Here they believe me.
Read what verse you at?
Verse 11.
Go ahead.
And how long will it be? Here they believe me for all the signs which I have showed among them.
And the Lord showed all the signs. The Lord saying, yo, how long is it going to take for these niggas to believe me after all these signs? And listen, man, the Lord's been sending signs right now. Why do you think these hurricanes is, these tsunamis is, 19 is?
That's right.
The Lord is sending signs, man. And how long is it going to be until us Israelites start believing him, man? You think we're provoking the Lord right now? You know, every time you say, oh, it was made in the lab, you're provoking the Lord, man.
Right.
Every time you say 5G towers is causing coronavirus, you're provoking the Lord, man. Every time you say COVID-19 don't exist, you're provoking the Lord, man. The Lord is doing this, showing his power, showing you signs that you believe him. And if you don't believe him, you're just provoking him like how we provoked him in the wilderness, man. Read on.
I will smite them with the pestilence.
And listen, man, the Lord said, you know, I'm going to have to smite these niggas with diseases and whatnot and pestilence and so forth. Because what? We weren't listening, man. Go ahead.
And this inherit them.
And he said, I'll disinherit them. Listen, man.
Yeah.
The Lord said, I inherited you, man. You're my children. The Lord said, you know what? These niggas don't want to listen. I'll disinherit them. I don't want to deal with them. Read on. The Lord was saying this to Moses because the Lord spoke in Moses' face and not in dark speeches. Go ahead.
And will make of thee a greater nation.
And the Lord said to Moses, I'm going to make of you a greater nation. Now I'm going to show you how righteous and how meek Moses was, man. I'm going to show you how righteous and how meek Moses was. We could have been a nation of Mosesites, man. Right. We could have been a nation of Moses right now. The Lord said, I'll wipe them all out and make a nation of you. And listen to what Moses said, man. Moses was a righteous man, which lets you know what? Moses wasn't full of pride. Moses wasn't full of Moses wasn't looking for the fame. And that's how you know Moses was meek. And you know why the Lord gave all this to Moses? Because Moses wasn't looking for it, man. Whereas there's some people out there just looking for it that want to be the face of everything, man. That wasn't Moses. Read on.
Make of thee a greater nation and a mightier than they. And Moses said unto the Lord, then the Egyptian shall hear it, for thou broughtest up this people in thy might. Moses
had to, you know, speak to the Lord and be like, oh Lord, but if you do that, Moses had to, say it in a nice way, because you ain't just going to go to the Lord and say, no, I'm not having it that way. Listen, Moses had to say it in a nice way, like, oh Lord, but if you do that, then the Egyptians are going to say such and such. Read on.
I brought up this people in thy might from among them, and they will tell it to the inhabitants of the land. For they have heard that thou, Lord, art among this people, that thou, Lord, art seen face to face, and that thy cloud standeth over them.
And now Moses is saying to the Lord, but Lord, if you do that, the Egyptians are going to say, you delivered them out of Egypt with a cloud and whatnot, and then you brought them into the wilderness. Go ahead.
God. Salakia. That thou gavest, Salakia, see face to face, and that thy cloud standeth over them, and that thou goest before them by daytime, a pillar of cloud, and a pillar of fire by night.
So now in the nighttime we followed what? A pillar of fire, because what we couldn't see, it was all dark. And if you've ever been to them lands, you're walking in the dark, it's pitch black. So we needed to follow a pillar of fire by night so we could see. Read on.
Now if thou shalt kill all these people.
So now Moses saying to the Lord, Lord, and if you kill all these people, go ahead.
As one man, then the nations which have heard the fame of thee will speak, saying, because the Lord was not able to bring this people in the land which he sware unto them, therefore he has slain them in the wilderness.
So the other nations was going to say, you know what, the Lord delivered these people and killed them. What's the point? That's what the other nations are going to say. Moses is saying that to the Lord. Read on.
And now I beseech thee, let the power of my Lord be great, according as thou hast spoken. Saying,
and I beseech thee, I beg thee. Beseech means to beg. Go ahead.
Saying, the Lord is long suffering and of great mercy.
Now listen, man. Moses is saying the Lord is long suffering and of great mercy. Moses is saying, Lord, you're merciful and you're long suffering, and just give them time and they will get right. That's how meek Moses was, man. Right. Moses was saying that to the Lord, when Moses could have said, yeah, wipe them out. Read on.
Forgiving iniquity and transgressions.
And listen, he said, you're merciful and you forgive sins and transgressions. Go ahead.
And by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation.
Go ahead.
Verse 19. Pardon, I beseech thee, the iniquity of the people according unto the greatness of thy mercy.
And he said, forgive them because you're merciful. Read on.
And as thou hast forgiven this people from Egypt, even until now.
Go ahead.
And the Lord said, I have pardoned according to thy word.
And Moses now, the Lord said he was going to kill them. And what did Moses do? Convince the Lord not to, man. Meanwhile, you have all these fake Israelites talking about, I hope 2/3 of Israel die. Who knows, man? Our righteousness, we could convince the Lord to keep them alive, man. We could convince the Lord to keep them alive, man. If we just keep being righteous. You see how the Lord was about to kill them right there. Moses spoke and said, oh Lord, pardon them. And the Lord said, all right, I hear you. I'm gonna do it because you said so. Now, how much more would the Lord pardon us in this day and age if all of us was righteous, man? Whereas all these fake Israelites talk about how much Israel deserves to die, when really, if that's the case, all of us deserve to die, man. And what did Moses do? Moses knew that they deserved to die, but Moses didn't want them to die. Meanwhile, they was ready to stone Moses, and Moses still didn't want them to die. And these fake Israelites want people to die because what? They mocked them at camp. Listen, man. They was ready to kill Moses, and Moses still didn't want them to die. Moses still begged the Lord to pardon them. And because Moses was so righteous and meek, and the Lord heard this point and said, you know what, you got a point, I'm going to pardon them for your sake. How much more would the Lord pardon the rest of our brothers, man? If we was to all serve God and pray to the Lord, if he could spare our brothers, who knows, man? The Lord might just pardon them. Because why? The Lord's merciful, man, and long-suffering, like the Bible says. Read on.
Another one can't. But as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled.
Give me a Hakayan, give me a Jeremiah chapter 2 and verse 14. Give me Jeremiah 2 and verse 14 real quick. Also, any questions, just type them in. Also, everyone online, subscribe. Click the like button, subscribe. Click the like button. If you don't like it, click the dislike button. Choice is yours. You can either click the like button or the dislike button. If you're an Israelite, don't worry. I'm gonna do what Moses did, and even if you click the dislike button, I'm gonna pray the Lord pardons you like Moses did. Don't worry. Even if you dislike it, because I'm trying to be meek and as righteous as Moses. Give me Jeremiah chapter 2 and verse 14.
Khan of the one Khan. Jeremiah 2:14. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave?
Is he a homeborn slave? Hakayam, break that down for me, man. Hakayam, break that down.
Salakia. Basically, he's asking the question: are we a servant, or Israel a homeborn slave to the other nations?
Meaning what? Are we just here to be slaves? Like, are we just slaves to everyone? And this is the thing with us. We want to be slaves to the whole world, man.
Right.
We want to be Barristan slaves. We want to be everybody's slave. Everybody's slave we want to be. When we ain't no homeborn slaves, man. We ain't meant to be born slaves. We just slaves because we disobey God. And then what's happened is, along the way, we've just got comfortable being a slave. And the Lord put us here as a punishment, but it seems we like this a little too much. Like, this is a punishment, and black people actually like this punishment. They actually like being a slave. It's like they're not angry every day. When you're supposed to wake up and be like, I'm sick of being a slave, man. I'm sick of this. And this is how you know some of us is sick of being slaves, is that we was actually happy about COVID-19 because you get some rest, man. Meanwhile, your oppressor who runs the business, he's upset because he's losing money, which lets you know that you're the slave. You're not losing money, but he is. He runs the business, so he's losing money. Whereas the money that you was getting weren't near enough nothing anyway. So we happy for days off. Whereas with him, he wants everything to go back to normal so he can go back to making money, which lets you know there's different levels between us and him, man. Read on.
Khan of the one Khan. Why is he spoiled? The young lions roared upon him.
And
yelled.
Read that from the top.
Khan. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave?
Is he a homeborn slave? Give me Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 4. And this is the thing, man. We need to get out of that slave mindset. We need to get out of that slave mindset, because you know why? We're going to get a kingdom, man. And you can't have a slave mindset in our kingdom. Because if you have a slave mindset in our kingdom, you're just willing to let these other nations come in and take over, man. And this is why when we at camp, we treat the other nations like they're our already, man. This is why when we at camp, we let them know that they're going to be our slaves. We treat them like they're in slavery already, man. Right. We ain't afraid to tell them, you're going to kiss our boots, man. Had some devil the other day, and looked like he had coronavirus, man. We made him kiss our boots, man. Everybody's looking at us like, and then another thing that people always like to say about us is, oh, go and get a job, go and get a job. Listen, man, a job don't mean nothing, man. What you think because you got a job, it means you're successful. This is what this world pushes. Oh, you must have a job, and that's what success is. That ain't success according to God, man. Later on, I'm gonna show you what success is according to God. But read that for me.
Jeremiah 30, verse 4. And these are the words that the Lord spoke concerning Israel and concerning Judah. For thus says the Lord, we have heard the voice of trembling and fear, and not of peace. Ask now and see whether a man doeth travail with child.
Meaning what? Meaning what Israel was going through
with his hands.
It says in travail, meaning when a woman's pregnant, she's going through stuff. Israel right here, they was going through things, man. Like we're going through things right now. Right about now, Israel right now is looking like a woman in travail, man. We need to be delivered, man. We trying to be delivered, man. Not no Christian concept. What they say delivered is. Listen, man. They say that they're delivered, but they're still these pastors are still dying from COVID-19, man. How's pastors dying from COVID-19 if they're meant to be delivered? It don't make no sense. Read on.
As a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into wholeness. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it.
Alas is another word for grief. Yeah, alas, it's another word for grief, right? Destruction and grief and whatnot. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It is even the time of Jacob.
Go ahead.
But he shall be saved out of it.
Oh yeah, and people think Jacob's trouble is
For
starting
it
now.
shall come to pass.
Listen, we've been in Jacob's trouble for a long time, man. Why you think slavery and all of that was? We've been in that for a long time. People think Jacob's trouble is what? Something that's starting now. What do you think getting your back whipped every night is, man? Why do you think going on a slave ship is? Why do you think not being able to see your kids is? Listen, man, we've been going through that for a long time. People thinking it's just starting now. I mean, where they been thinking this is just starting now? Listen, man, we're coming to the end of it. We're coming to the end of this almost, man. We've been going through this for years. Read on.
For it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck.
Listen, man,
and will burst thy bonds.
The day is coming when this yoke is going to be broken off our neck, man. What's the yoke for? When you enslave someone, there's a time coming when there's no more 9 to 5, man. There's a time coming when there's no more working for this devil, man. There's a time coming where there's no more getting ran down and shot by this devil, man. There's a time coming when we ain't gonna have that yoke on our neck no more. There's a time coming when black people are gonna be free as a bird, man. We're gonna be free as a bird, man. You see when the bird's in the cage? That's like us, man. Soon, them cage doors is gonna open, man. Like that Nelly Furtado, so what's it called? I'm like a bird, something fly away. Listen, man, we're gonna be like that Nelly Furtado song, man. I'm like a bird, something flying away, whatever she says, man. We're gonna fly away. Listen, one day we're gonna be free, man. No longer to Great Britain, man. No longer ruled over by this devil that's oppressing us. The time's coming, all black people should want this freedom. And it's only right, you deserve this freedom, man. Not even that you deserve this freedom. Freedom belongs to you, man. The Lord said you should be free, man. You ain't supposed to be nobody's slaves. Read on.
And strangers shall no more serve themselves of him.
And listen, man. Strangers,
but they shall serve
strangers,
the Lord.
Strangers ain't going to be ruling over you no more, man.
Right.
Strangers ain't going to be telling you what to do no more. Strangers ain't going to be giving you interviews for jobs no more. The fate of your fate ain't going to fall into the hands of some just heathen, man. You ain't going to have to put on a suit and tie and some pointy shoes and speak like the oppressor to get a job no more, man. The Lord's going to break the bands off your hands. Bands is what? Something that you tie someone up with. All those things is going to be broken off. Read on.
Verse 9.
But they shall serve the Lord their God, and David their king, whom I will raise up over them. Therefore, fear thou not, my servant Jacob, saith the Lord, neither be dismayed, O Israel. For lo, I will save thee from afar,
man.
and thy seed from the land.
The Lord's going to save us from all our enemies. The Lord's going to save us from all these oppressors. Read on.
Of their captivity, and they shall return.
Give me a Revelation chapter 18 and 1.
Revelation.
For that. Give me a Revelation 18 and 1, Baba Shaw.
Another one can. Revelation chapter 18 verse 1. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory.
And listen, man, an angel coming down having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory, man. And listen, man, this earth is going to be lightened once that nuclear fire hits, man. This earth is going to be lightened, man. Read on.
And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is falling.
In Babylon the Great is falling. This is talking about America. Listen, that country is going to fall, man. All these countries is going to fall, man. An angel coming down and his glory lighted up the earth, man. And how's this earth going to fall? With thermonuclear fire, man.
That's
so it says lighted up the earth, man. And that's what it says Babylon is falling. Because once he comes down, this place is going to be destroyed, man. Once that fire comes down, this place is going to be destroyed. Babylon is falling. And as you can see, Babylon is on its way out right now, man.
That's right.
Read on.
Babylon is falling, and has become.
This is why in the UPK we sing that song, Babylon is falling to rise no more. Once this place is destroyed, it ain't gonna rise again, man. You know why? Because the beast fell and it rose again. When you read is it Revelation 12, right? Revelations 12, the Roman Empire fell and they rose again. Well, guess what? Babylon is going to fall and it ain't going to rise again, man. That's why we sing that. Read that.
It's become the habitation of devils.
And it's become the habitation of devils, man. Everything you want to find, you can find in America and England, man. All kinds of homosexual acts, all kinds of cross genders, he, she, he's, LGBTQ, ABC, whatever. You can find it in these countries, man. This has become the habitation of devils, man. Go ahead.
And the hold of every foul.
You see, from these places, from America and England, they start to what they do here. It starts to branch out to other countries afterwards.
That's right.
Now they do gay pride march in Jamaica because of what? Great Britain, man. Because of Great Britain. Now they got gay pride march in Jamaica. Now they got gay pride march in every other country because of America and England. Because this place is the habitation of devils. And then these devils branch out and bring their nastiness everywhere, man. And then what happens? Every other country, they bring their nastiness to. So we used to see things in America and be like, oh, now these sex change things, that's not going to come to England. Listen, man, it's in England to the max now. Now they got clinics in England where they do these things now. Because this is the habitation of devils. Read on.
Devils and the hold of every foul spirit and a cave.
Every foul spirit, you see, every foul spirit is in this place, man. Every kind of spirit is in this place, man. Every disgusting spirit is in this place. Homosexuality, pedophilia, all of these things, man. Every foul spirit is in this place. Go ahead.
And a cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
Everything unclean, everything against God, everything hateful is in this place. This whole place is built of hating God, man. This whole country in America is built of hating God and hating God's people. Right. Read on.
For all nations have drunken of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
And of this place, all nations have drunk of it, man. Everything that America and Great Britain have to offer, every other nation have drunk of it, man. They've took part in it. Like I said, the gay pride march is in every other country. They've allowed it and took part in it, man. They've drunk a cup as well. Read on.
And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her.
Who's the kings of the earth?
The other nations.
Yeah, but who would they be? Like who would you say the king of America is and the king of England is?
The presidents.
Damn right, that's exactly who it is. But that's who the kings would be today. The kings would be your presidents, your prime ministers, your leaders. That's who the kings of the earth would be, because they kind of call the shots and whatnot. Read on.
Kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the
kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, man. They trade together. Yeah. They write up treaties together. They agree together. They agree that they're going to do this and that together. Go ahead.
Have committed fornications with her, and the merchants of the earth.
And the what?
Are waxed, and the merchants of the earth.
And the merchants of the earth. A merchant is what? Somebody that trades. A merchant is a merchant comes from the word what? A merchandiser. So a merchandiser is what? Someone that buys stuff. The merchants of the earth, these are people who trade. That's what a merchant is. Go ahead.
Are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies.
And the merchants have waxed rich, man, through the abundance of their delicacies, man. These merchants have waxed rich of profiting off things that they shouldn't be profiting off. Go ahead.
And I heard another voice, Salakia, are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice out of heaven. And I heard another voice come, Salakia. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye perceive, and that ye receive not of her plagues.
Bro, the Lord don't want us to join this place. The Lord don't want us to be like the kings of the earth. The Lord don't want us to be like these merchants that we was reading about. The Lord don't want us to join them, or we're going to be partakers of her plagues. Go ahead.
For her sins have reached unto heaven.
Her sins have reached up to heaven, man. That's how long this place has been breaking God's laws for, man. That it's reached up to heaven, man. Meaning it's sky high, it's at an all-time high. Everything they're doing is against God, and it's reached up to God, man. And God's had enough, and God's saying, you know what? I've been long suffering. It's time for me to go destroy this place, man. It's time for me to go destroy this place and take my people out of it. And that's why the Lord don't want you to join this place. That's why verse 4 says, come out from among them. Meaning, don't be like them, man. Read on.
Return to heaven. And God has remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you.
And we must reward her as she's rewarded us, man. They've rewarded us with slavery. We need to reward them with double slavery, man. The way they've rewarded us, we're going to reward them double, man. They've rewarded us horribly. And now that they're being plagued, now that this whole earth's being plagued, why are we upset about it? We shouldn't be upset about it, man. Because listen, man, we've been working them cotton fields. Meanwhile, we had diseases. They still forced us to work, man. Guess what? The Lord's giving you a break from work for a bit, man. The Lord's giving you a little break from being a slave for a bit, man. Read on.
Reward her. Salakia. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works.
Double according to her works. And America's and Great Britain's works have been horrible. I'm going to try rush for it for time's sake. Read on.
Can. In the cup which she has filled to her double.
Go ahead.
How much she has glorified herself and lived deliciously.
And these countries have lived These countries have lived deliciously off the backs of slaves, man.
Right.
They've lived deliciously off the backs of black and Hispanics, man. The British Bank was set up off of slavery, man.
That's right.
The UK runs off the back of slavery. The NHS was built on slaves, man. All these things was built off slave money. Loans and all these things was built off the back of slaves. These countries they lived deliciously on the backs of blacks and Hispanics, man. And the Lord's going to destroy everything that they've built up. Everything that they took years to build up, the Lord's going to destroy it in 1 hour, man. And we should be happy that the Lord's destroying them.
Right.
We should be happy all their businesses is going into administration, man. We should be happy that all their businesses is closed down, man. It's only right that it closes down because it was built up off the backs of us. Read on.
That's right. Okay. Turn off again.
Go ahead. Go to verse 7. You was at.
Verse 7. How much has she glorified herself and lived deliciously? So much torment and sorrow give her.
Go ahead.
For she says in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow.
And shall see no sorrow. What do they say? Oh, this is the greatest country of the earth, on the earth. What did the UK say? The UK is one of the strongest countries in the world. No one can't war with us. No one can't do nothing to us. We shall see no sorrow. Guess what, man? You forgot that God exists, man.
Right.
They forgot that God exists and they will see sorrow. Read on.
Right. Therefore shall the plagues come in 1 day,
And listen, the Lord's going to take them out in one day, man. With Egypt, when the Lord destroyed Egypt, the Lord done it over time, hardened Pharaoh's heart, done it over time. The Lord's going to destroy America in one day, man. Read on.
Death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned.
Jump to verse 9 for time's sake, because I quickly need to go to something else after. Jump to verse 9 for time's sake.
Verse 9. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament over her, lament for her.
These other nations that's committed fornication with her, meaning what? They've been a part of her scheme and whatnot. They're going to cry and cry and cry. You know why? Because they're merchants and they trade with this place, and this place is going to be burnt to ashes, which means they ain't going to get no more trade, man. Their country is going to be burnt to a crisp, and these other countries ain't going to get no more trade and no more goods. So they're going to be mourning and crying and crying. Read on.
Slakia. Lament over her when they shall see the smoke of her burning.
And they're going to see the smoke of her burning. And this is what I'm saying. Don't put your life into this place, man. But these places is worth nothing, man.
Going down.
These places is going to burn, man. Don't put your all into this place. See that all nice house you're putting your all into? It's going to go one day, man. It's not going to abide forever. Read on.
Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, that great city, Babylon, that mighty city.
They say that great city, that mighty city, you know why? Because who is America, man? Nobody, man. It's a great city and it's mighty. They'll drop bombs on you, man. They will bomb your little kids and no one says anything. Because it's what? America, Great Britain will bomb your kids. No one says anything because it's Great Britain, man. These countries feel like they're above the law and feel like they can do whatever they want. Now, in their land, they're above the law, but they're not above the laws of God, man. And God is going to show them that. God is going to show them that, and He's going to destroy them. Read on.
For in 1 hour is that judgment come.
Their judgment's coming in 1 hour. Read on for time's sake.
And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth her merchandises anymore.
No man buys his merchandises anymore. You know why? Because this country is going to be that country is going to be burnt down. But for time's sake, I'll continue that next week. But give me Proverbs chapter 11 and verse 4. Pull me Proverbs 11 and 4, and Hakayan, pull me up definition of success.
Proverbs chapter 11 verse 4.
1 sec. Hakayan, pull me the definition of success. You're able to pull it, or you need me to pull it in the room? Most High in Christ. I'm just going to have him read the definition of what success is. People are always talking about success. Go ahead.
Success, the accomplishment of an aim or purpose.
The accomplishment of an aim or purpose. Now, success according to this world is what? Come on, Haki, and give it to me. What do people say success is according to this world?
An aim or a purpose.
An aim or a purpose. Now, what they will say to you is success is having a nice car, a nice house, having a good job. They will tell you that's what success is. That ain't what success is according to the Lord. Tazapuan, read this for me.
Proverbs 11 verse 4. Riches profit not in the day of wrath.
Hold on, what did the Bible say? The house what?
Riches profit not in the day of wrath.
Hold on, that nice car, the Bible says what?
Riches profit not in the day of wrath.
No, making a 200K a year. The Bible says what?
Profit not in the day of wrath.
Listen, man, it doesn't profit in the day of destruction, which lets you know that oppressor's success is garbage, man. A big house don't profit in the day of destruction. A nice job don't profit in the day of destruction. Being rich don't profit in the day of destruction. Read on.
But righteousness delivereth from death.
Hold on, what?
But righteousness delivereth from death.
Success is to God, man. True success according to God is righteousness, man. Righteousness is true success to God. Now, someone in the comments, someone in the comments, type in how much money you make a month. I just need to see something. Type in how much money you make a month. Anyone online, just type it in. Whether it's a little, whether it's a lot, type in how much you get paid a month. Let me give you a minute. And also type in, by the end of the month, how much money you have left over. I just need to see some figures.
2 bags.
Shamgar said 2 bags. Okay, you're making some good money. You are okay, Shamgar. So lucky we all can't be making that good money like you. All right, then you make 2 bags a month. After you paid all your bills, how much do you have left over?
1 bag.
Now he's got that left over probably. Shamgar said he picks up 2 bags a month. How much do you have left over once you paid all them bills? 600. All right, then. Captain Pressure, can you quickly go on your calculator on there?
Yeah.
All right, then. So Shamgar said he has 600 left over. So, Shamgar, how much years have you been working so far? Let me find how much years. It's coming a little bit slow. Let me see how much years you've been working so far. Shamgar, how much years you've been working so far? Let me see. 6 years. All right, then. Type in 600 times 12. What does it give us?
You get
7,200 pounds. All right, then. And now, times that by 6, because you said 6 years. Oh, Shamgar, have you got 43,000 pounds in your bank account right now? Let me see if Shamgar's got 43 grand in his bank account.
If he has, I won't mind a bag or 2.
See, Shamgar, see, this is what I'm saying to you. Our oppressor lies to us, man. He makes us think that after 50 years, times that by 50, see how much years that gives you by 50. See, Shamgar, according to you having 600 left over, you meant to have 43,000 pounds in your bank account, and you ain't got 43,000 pounds in your bank account. Now we're going to times it by 50 because our parents say, "Oh, get a good job and work for 50 years." Let's see how much money we're supposed to have after 50 years.
2,160,000.
See, we're meant to have 2,160,000. How come our grandparents ain't got that? How come when our parents and grandparents die, they can't even afford their own funeral? The white man's the devil, the Bible speaks of, when they lies to you, man. Teach you that success is getting a house of money. The truth is we ain't never going to get no money. With that, we're up on the time. We're going to do the Lord's Prayer and we're out of here. Imagine that after 50 years, we're meant to have all that money and you ain't got a grant to show for it. You ain't got a grant to show for it. Listen, Shamgar, I've been working for years, and every time it comes to Passover, I'm still struggling to pay, which lets you know that what this oppressor teaches us success is, that really ain't no success, man. That really ain't no success. He says to us, yeah, because I'll pay you this much. They pay us a wage where they know we ain't going to save a penny. Go ahead.
I.S.U.P.K. started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yohanna, ruled for a new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are often limited for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will call each other. After this 6 months, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers 18:21, Malachi 3:10 means 10 ma'ashara, 10% of any increase you receive from the Lord. Priest fund, not mandatory, whatsoever amount you would like to give. Upcoming holy convocations is the Passover, and the date is to be announced. All Akim and Aqua, check the bulletin board in the hallway and check all I.S.U.P.K social media. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black boots, shirts, pants, headbands, and scarves. And with that, I Maryam, and we're going to rise and face the east. And the Lord's Prayer, Abadawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Haya, Shakar, Yahawa, Malakwa, Sabah, Zaika, Haya, Aisha, Baraka, Kawo, Haya, Shemayim, Villanava, Lakam, Kam, Wasa, Nawa, Kabawatnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kabawafinawa, Wala'a, Abaya, Abo, Shino, Mayan, Right, Aya, Lakam, Hamala, Wahala, Wahapara, I will love you, Amen.
In English, our Father,
Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth
as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts. We forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. So be.
I'm going to give a teacher one courtesy salute. Men of Israel, Amadim Shabbat, Amadim Barak, Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Barak,
Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Barak,
Captain's Minister.
Anyway.